variety of queen is VSH. It stands for varroa suppression hygienic. So, and it's Italian based. So it's an Italian queen, but they've been raising a variety that can detect a varroa mite underneath the capped cell. So if there's a queen varroa mite underneath there that's breeding, they can detect that pheromone and they'll uncap, so the bees will uncap that cell and pull that out of there before the mites have a chance to reproduce.
Wow.
So that's what this variety is. Whether you want one of these or not, I don't know. We've got several different varieties. So
I think they said they didn't care what kind. So. VSH.
Okay, well let's have a look.
This will be a good one for you.
Okay, so first thing I'm doing is I'm just going to give them a little bit of smoke. You can use too much smoke. That's enough to move the bees out of the way. I'll put a little bit at the front of the entrance to scare off the guard bees. So just kind of disorient them for a minute. All right, now I'm going to take my hive tool. You can do this with your hive tool, pry it out that way, but that's kind of hard on your boxes. That's how you get the broken edges. So typically I'll use the hive tool like this, and you want to bring that frame straight up if you can. So if you push it over to the side and you're not careful how you take the frame out, you'll smash bees along the way. So pick your frame straight up.
You take that first one, does it matter what order you take them?
No, it doesn't really matter. So, well, yes and no. So it would be best to take a frame from the side, because the queen's brood chamber is going to be in the middle of the box, usually. Sometimes she'll be on one side or the other, but you don't want to risk smashing the queen. You don't want to do that. So typically in a box you'll have honey on the edges and then the brood chamber in the middle. And so if you start with taking a frame out of the side, you have less chance of smashing the queen. So you try not to smash bees when you get in there, but it's inevitable. You're going to smash a bee or two when you're moving things around, and so that happens. So we just hope it's not the queen. Okay. So this frame, why don't you take that and pass it around. Look at it. There's not much on the one side that was next to the side of the box, and then on the other side is a bunch of honey. I'm going to pry this one away. There's an earwig in there. That's one of the pests. We'll talk about hive pests in a minute. I'm going to pry it away before I lift it out.
Is there any special way of turning the hives or anything like that? Turning the frames? It doesn't look like you were worried about that too much.
No, I read in some book that says you're supposed to turn the frames. That's nonsense.
I do too.
Look at that brood.
So, okay, so here's a really good brood pattern right now. So you can see the difference here in capped over workers. Okay, so these are honey cells right there
On the corner.
You can see where the honey is, and it's not capped over yet. And then the larvae, you can see some larvae in there, and you can see I don't see any pollen, at least on this side. There's one bee right there that's just chewing out. You can see it's just hatching out. It's chewing the lid off the cell to come out.
So when it's larva like that, is it always that same color? That kind of orange?
Yes. Now usually it's this color or a little bit darker. So caps, the caps on, see that's honey. I put my thumb on that. They'll repair that no problem. The caps that are over honey, they want it, you know, what wax is airtight, watertight. And so the caps that they put over the larva, the pupa in there needs to breathe. And so they mix that with a little bit of pollen. They chew up some of the cocoons from previous molts. And so it's a little bit porous. They can get a little bit of air in there for the pupa. So when they do that, it's a little bit darker. So capped over brood is usually darker than capped over honey, not always. Yeah. Okay, so that's a pretty good brood pattern right there.
So you got brood on both sides going on.
Brood on both sides of that one. That's looking good.
Stan, how long does it take them to, you know, like on a new frame, how long does it take them to build the frame, to build the comb?
Yeah, so there's some variables involved there. Now look at that. That's just sidebar to sidebar, all brood. It depends on. Okay, so now here's a good example of some eggs. I want you to pass this around. I want everybody to be able to identify the eggs. There's eggs in that corner. Don't drop that frame, the queen might be on it. Don't drop the frame. So if there's a good honey flow on, if there's only this amount of bees, it's going to take them longer than if you had an established colony with two boxes clear full of bees. So, but you'll see when the temperature inside the hive needs to be in the mid-90s for them to make wax and draw out comb. And so if they're too cold, they won't draw out wax. If there's no honey flow on, they won't draw out wax. So when conditions are right, you know, they'll do it in a couple of weeks.
That's clean.
That's a drone. Okay, so they've got big. You need to be able to identify drones too. Yeah. So that's a drone. They're bigger. They got great big eyes, and their abdomen's rounder, and they're a little bit hairier. You see it? Yeah. Okay, so now this. That's the plastic foundation underneath. You can see how they haven't built that out yet. And that is just, they've been building that next to the frame.
Maybe don't have it.
Next to it.
Other
Right.
Alan, do you want to?
So when you check your hide, you clean that stuff out.
Yeah, I do usually. Okay, so now look, here's another example of it. You'll see on the side of the box, they're sticking some wax. It's called bridge comb. From one frame to another, or when they stick it down.
You want to get rid of that?
You don't have to, but I usually cut it out.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I'll just, you know, you can clean it up a little bit.
And there's honey in that one.
That's just mostly honey.
On the other side, show them the caps on honey.
Oh, okay, yeah. So this is capped over honey. All right, so you see the difference in the caps on honey? There's honey underneath that. See how light it is?
Where are you looking there? Oh yeah, that's all honey right there?
It's all honey. So there's different colored wax there though. See, that's a little bit more yellow, and then this is a little whiter. So
it looks like some of the frames have more, are more about brooding, and others are more about honey. Is that normal?
yeah,
Or do they
that's
mix it
normal.
up?
That's normal. Well, they want to have, they kind of have a ring of honey and pollen around the brood in the corners, and then there'll be some frames outside the brood chamber
That are more honey.
that are just honey, yeah, and pollen.
Okay, so show them how you transfer to the other box now.
Okay.
Will you please?
All right. Now, okay, so what I want to do, the bees have got their fix on this location. This is the entrance right here. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to move this one over, and then I'm going to put my other box where it was. Put that right there. And now I'm going to try, I'll put them back in roughly the same order. We want to keep the brood chamber together. Yeah, that was the one frame we had out with honey in it. So the queen likes her brood chamber in the middle, so I'm going to put a couple of empty ones here. Okay, now this one,
That was
this was the
far
first
right
one on
side.
this side, wasn't
Yes,
it?
sir.
Okay, so we'll put this one over here again. These bees are pretty calm right now. Okay, so I've removed some of the frames so that it'll be easier for me to, in order not to kill the queen. Did anybody see the queen on any of these?
Yeah, they're on this
Is it
one.
on that one? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we know she's in there because of the brood. We know we got a queen. We've seen eggs. We know she's in there. So, okay, so, and you notice when I set the frames in, I took one out, so I had space. So I move a frame out and then lift it out. It keeps me from smashing bees. Keeps me from killing the queen. Right? Okay, so now we put it back together.
Do you want to talk about bee space real quick?
Yeah, the bee space, they're like about 3/8 of an inch is the bee space. So and they've designed a hive, Langstruth is the guy's name that did it back in 1851 is when he came up with the movable frame hive instead of the old-fashioned kind. And so he designed it so there's 3/8 of an inch where the bees are going to need to crawl around in there. And so
they'll build out comb until they end up with 3/8 of an inch space.
the lid on now. Yeah. Right, so they'll draw the comb out until they have just enough space for them to get around. Now the bees are going to smell their old hive, so I'm gonna take this box and just set it a little ways off, maybe over here, so we don't have some of the returning workers going in there instead. So I'll just make sure this is set on there. Now the idea is to just leave that alone until dark, and you can pick it up, put it in the truck and take it home. So.